Welcome. I just purchased this 1998 Yamaha Waverunner. It's a 700cc, and I've got a significant hesitation problem on acceleration. It won't run at full throttle. It will run at idle, but it bogs down really quick. And so I wanted to walk you through how I fixed it and solved the hesitation problem. Had to go through a few different steps, but it's something that you guys can handle too, I'm sure. Hope this helps. Alright, so here's what I did. First, you're looking down at the top of the carbs, and it's a dual carb setup. So first I had to get the carbs off. So I had to take this bolt out and this bolt on the right hand side. Then there are 4 bolts underneath this steel plate. The first bolts are on the back. There's one on the right corner, one on the left corner, and then there's 2 bolts in the front, front left and front right, where I'm pointing on them with the mouse. Short 8mm wrench will get it off. There's a top plate that I took off. I'd recommend, if you can, leave it on. It keeps the carburetors together. And then lift it out. It's a little contorting, but you can get it off. Next, you got a fuel line you have to pop off right here. It's the left-hand side, and there'll be one on the right-hand side. Then you'll have the choke and throttle cables. I would recommend undoing the little bolt down here at the bottom to disconnect the cable, release, and then you can easily pop off the head. And then for the throttle, undo this little bolt, and you can easily pull the throttle cable off. But the choke and throttle cable both have to come off before I get the carb off. Now the carb is off the jet ski, and it's on the bench right here. And what I'm circling right here is the fuel pump. First off, I just wanted to take the carburetors apart a little bit, see if there's any gunk in there. So I took these 4 screws out, and I cut this zip tie that connected the carb's fuel line. And when I looked inside the carb, it was clean. There was nothing in there. So that told me I need to look at another problem or other fuel starvation problems. So I read a little bit more, and they said on the fuel pump here, you should be able to look through the fuel pump between the brass fittings and see a light on the other side, about the size of a thick pencil lead. When I did that, I could not see through it. It was black. So it was clogged, is what it was telling me. So that was my first kind of big indicator. So I pulled the fuel pump off, looked at it again, nothing there. It was just dark. I looked through these 2 ends, brass ends, and I went ahead and dipped it overnight in a carb cleaner bucket. Pulled it out next day, shot some air through it with an air gun, and sure enough, the hole opened up about the size of again a pencil lead, a thick pencil lead. If you don't have carburetor cleaner bucket, get some carburetor cleaner from one of the auto parts stores and just blast it in through the orifices here. There's a small screen in there, and that's what was gumming things up. So this is a diagram, and just reviewing what I was telling you here, I needed to pull the carburetors apart. So I took the front plate off, carburetor number 1, where the fuel pump was. Everything looked clean inside there. If there was gunk, I might have rebuilt the carburetor, but it looked clean. I pulled the back side off, looked at this rubber diaphragm and everything in there. I was careful not to mess anything up. That was clean. Put everything back together. Read some more, and they told me, as I just mentioned, there should be a little light shining through the carburetor fuel jets, fuel pump, and there wasn't. So I soaked it and cleaned it and got that light shining through it. Looked at carburetor number 2, pulled this backing plate off, looked inside, looked at all the orifices. They were clear, no gunk in there. All the rubber seals were good. So put it back together. Same thing on the other side. So that was a big win on the fuel pump clog. And then I looked and checked out my fuel pump. That looked like it had some crud on the bottom. So I pulled and put a new one on there. And last but not least, at the very beginning, I pumped out the gas in my fuel tank that looked to check, make sure there wasn't anything in there. It looked fine, so I wasn't concerned there was gunk in the fuel tank and needed to be drained totally. But I did put some more fresh gas in there and some sea foam, and I was ready to go. So, in summary, my Yamaha Waverunner 700cc had a significant hesitation problem and was not running at full throttle. So, what I did was pumped out the gas. I just bought this, and so didn't know a lot about previous running conditions. So I pumped out all the gas, put new gas in there, looked at the bottom of the tank, there was no crud in there, so I felt good about that. Put new gas in, ran it, still had the same hesitation problem. So went in, looked at the carburetors, pulled them off, found that the fuel pump actually had a clog in it, so I cleared that clog out with carburetor cleaner. And then lastly, I replaced the fuel filter. Then we're good to go. Hey, if you like this video, click the like button below. Hope you have a good time on the water. Stay safe.